Okay.
Like the newspaper, there's a few other, Ed Lockwood's on there, and
Pomeroy.
I don't think Paul's on there
Yeah,
yet.
he just got
Oh,
up.
he's on now, okay.
All right, so, from the, Public Safety Committee, Frank had asked to be able to come and, talk with us. So Frank, please take the floor.
Thank you. I have requested a temporary law clerk position. I have an attorney that is licensed in the District of Columbia in DC. He's been licensed for 2 years. He moved back home to Malone, where he grew up, and then he wants to follow a defense legal career here. He's been volunteering in the office for a little over 4 weeks now. I have him on a volunteer program. I've filed for what they consider an 805 certificate. That's asking the appellate division to allow Joe, his name is Joe Petrovsky. His family's from the area, is Dr. Petrovsky from Aliside. So what I'm looking for is to have him be able to put him in as a law clerk pending his admission. I'm going to be honest, we have a little bit of a hiccup because there are 2 parts that you could have somebody work under a licensed attorney, and that's Part 524 and Part 805. 524 is when you have an attorney that has graduated law school but has not taken the bar yet. And then 805 is somebody that has graduated law school, taken the bar, but has not been admitted yet. Joe is none of those. Joe passed the bar, practiced in DC for 2 years, now he's trying to waive it.
But he has to pass the New York State bar.
As a reciprocity.
No, it's a reciprocity.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so-
Basically, you'll have to take the bar again, but you just have to apply to be admitted based upon your good standing in another state.
And
Correct.
it takes a period of time.
Correct. So what happened is I've sent Judge Gary a letter requesting that be granted. I haven't heard back. I was going to give it to the rest of this week and then call. That's why I've decided to come forward, because I wasn't sure if he was going to get that certificate or if I would have to wait 2, 3, 4 months. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to do that, to commit to that process. So my hope is to get him working as a law clerk in the office. At least I could utilize him in the part-time position. And then once he's licensed, we'll put him right into that part-time.
Right,
attorney.
because you don't have a full-time position.
Correct.
You've maneuvered some of your full-time attorney money into a few positions.
Correct.
So, okay.
Correct.
So it's a part-time temporary law clerk.
Correct. So what happens is he would take in this is a part-time attorney that is in my budget. I would put him in.
You use that money to pay.
Correct. Presently, in this year's budget, there is a full-time attorney position. I took that out of this coming year's budget,
Right.
but I have money in the budget to pay to keep him going. He would not be more than part-time. So I would slip him in right into that position.
I mean, as a quick look, Frank,
Yeah.
and I want to go over these figures again, Shana could take a look at this again, but it looks like there's about 40,000. Is that your understanding? Okay.
And I won't use that in
Yeah.
3 months or 4 months, whatever it be, to the end of the year.
So are there questions that people have relative to this? How has he been working out in the 4 weeks that he's been?
Sure, good. I have him.
Yeah, we're on.
I will discuss
So I'm
that.
interested in the job description around that and what the duties you anticipate having a law clerk do.
Well, right now, he's just strictly calling in, so if I have witnesses that I have to talk to and things like that, I have him following up the background on me. I can't have him go to court.
But
Once he's a law clerk, then he can start doing a little more legal.
You can read over the documents though and give you recommendations and things like that, probably.
Correct.
and prepare the documents.
I'm sorry?
And prepare the documents.
Correct. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And as a part-time clerk, he doesn't have to do civil service, go through, okay.
Right, he would, well, correct.
We did the same thing with an employee in that office a few years ago who was from another state who came here, and we had to wait for them to get what they call waived in. So we've done it before with another employee who's still with us, but he came here, I think, from Michigan or something.
Right, so what happened with Anson, we're talking about. So Anson had, why it was easier for Anson to throw hot leach under 805, why it was easier for him to get that done is he had already been licensed for 5 years. So that's
This
the
guy
thing.
hasn't.
So that's why Joe is only there for 2 years, so he has to go through that extra step. And unfortunately, in the middle of COVID, everything is moving extremely slow. They're not even,
Hopefully
from
we can end up
understanding,
with
doing it.
an attorney that would work for the county for a lot of years, because he's a local person.
Yeah, he born and, you know, his family's from here, they transplanted from here, but they're here now. I think Dr. Petrovsky and Ann, they're here, I would say 12 years, 13 years. I'm pretty sure they moved right after he left the service, he left the Navy, and he came and moved here.
So to do this, do we need just board approval? Do we need a resolution?
He's got some steps to take. He needs to create a position
Not correct.
through PERC and work with personnel.
Okay,
And we do have, it's full-time, but right now, we do have a law clerk in Tom's office as well. So I would like to think that, you know, the job description's there and so you have to create the position if the
Correct.
board gives you the nod to move forward with that.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just wanted to come to the committee, to the board, to make sure that everybody knew what I wanted to do. I would have approval before I started the rest of the steps.
Paul Maroon, Ed Lockwood, do you have any questions?
No, that's fine. That's fine with me.
Okay, all right. Board members, do you, in general, yes?
Okay with
Okay, all right. All right. Anything else?
That's it. Any questions of me at all?
How in general is the workload going and?
We're doing good. I ran some reports just in case I did have questions. I ran some pre-2003 reports and pre-February 3rd when I came on board and post-February 3rd. I ran family court reports, criminal court reports, and full case reports. What I can tell you is that in the cases in prior years, we ran by year, and then by open case and how long they stayed open. My reports show that on average, cases were open anywhere from, depending on the type of, whether it was family or criminal, were open anywhere from 470 days to 263 days, I believe, 238 days. Since taking into the office and taking over the office, I have my criminal caseload averages 44 days prior to closing, and my family court caseload is 38 days for criminal and 44 days for family court.
Now, I know at one time there was like 1,000 or 500 on that. I don't know how many it was when you took over. but-
Correct, there was, yeah.
But
So
we
there were
paused.
some, I had one case that was over 1,000 days old.
So how many on the caseload today?
How many cases do I have right
Yeah,
now?
that's.
Presently, in my, I have 188, I believe. I had 204, and then I closed 25 in the past 2 weeks. So we're averaging, my average is somewhere under 50 days per case I'm closing. So right now, I think I've taken in a total of 280 cases for the year. So we're closing at about a 40% under 50 days.
So sounds like you're
The goal is to.
addressing the
Yeah,
issues,
What's that?
addressing the issues.
But
It's
the goal is to have very few in the end, just the ones that are harder to work on.
correct. The ones that I can dispose of quickly, you attack quickly. The ones that are gonna take time, you put on the shelf and you work on them. That's, instead of putting everything on the shelf.
Right.
Well,
So
he's
that's
a
right.
law clerk / attorney because he is an attorney.
Correct.
Yes.
So this should help with some of that as well.
Right, and once the ILS grant comes through, we know that it was approved, we're just waiting for the final signature. Then my whole southern end will be taken care of.
Yeah.
So, because I found another attorney to take over, peace positions as I wasn't the DSS. So, but I have somebody else to take over, well-known attorney in the area, especially on the southern end, I'm up there. So we will cut out, and that's when we did our budget, well, we never got to the budget, but
Well, you're right.
we'll get there. In the budget, you'll see that I'm not asking for travel. I've cut my travel because I won't be traveling to the southern end.
Right.
So there will be no, my travel is only the local courts that I need to go to.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
And thank you for your work.
Oh, thank you.
Quarter after Roger List is coming, I don't know if he's Fran
I
coming?
wonder, yeah, Fran will come too.
It's Roger dialing in.
Yes, I think so.
Roger, were you?
No, Roger's sitting in on.
Oh,
Fran's here.
Roger's joining us.
Oh,
Here. Did he get invitation?
Yes.
Yes.
He hasn't come on yet, though.
No.
He might not come on till it's
So I have an assigned council. I have a backfill for a clerk due to a resignation. Do you know, no information on this one?
I do.
Yep, it's a grant funded.
I believe Eddie Lockwood might have snagged her in his current position, his full-time job.
Oh, the one that left here?
Yes.
He isn't roaming around here trying to find employees, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Somebody left here
She's leaving.
and going to,
Yeah, Adirondack Energy, and she's, she's been an excellent employee, and we have made sure to give her the message that she should take some more exams and come back, apply and come back, because when we have an opening, we would highly consider her.
You got her for now, then.
Very good,
No comment.
capable head.
very, very good employee.
So is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Ed, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Yes.
And I, two per diem bus driver due to resignations. One is a fourth request, and the other one is just a resignation in July, so,
So he's having trouble getting them the other.
yeah, per diem bus drivers.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
I do think at some point, if we've reduced our routes, to maybe get an update down the road as far as, what those are going to look like, and in the next few months,
No pun intended, down the road.
what those are going to look like, and, then what is the staffing requirement?
And so everybody's okay with the per diems?
Yes.
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 Okay, good. Thank
And
you.
I have one more, it's a labor position due to a retirement at the highway.
I'm good with that.
Everybody else okay?
Yes.
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 That's all I have.
So we're good.
Oh, no, they putting in that, Donna, they putting in that electric thing?
Yes,
That's when,
yeah,
NYSERDA's putting it in.
Yeah.
So that's the high-powered electric car
yes,
charger?
because Greg's transitioning to
Are you?
that.
Great.
Yeah, I'll get my test,
When you get your Tesla,
Oh,
should be in tomorrow.
you don't even be talking about it.
No, whoops.
So can we
You know,
tell
maybe
Roger
send
first
us
if
a-
he has the information?
I sent him a message, but
Can you send
I
him a
didn't
message?
get anything back yet.
Do you email him, Fran, or text him, or
I
what?
emailed him. Let me see if I,
And hopefully he's not trying to get on or something. You ever really gonna pull there?
I don't know if you want to go over some of this. I don't know if it's. Is that I know some is,
I don't know if.
the last one.
Yeah.
We did the one we did. Well,
I'm just gonna go call her.
Did you want to talk about that open session, the record?
You're happy.
The record?
Oh.
Hey, Tom.
Huh?
Did he call you?
No.
Oh, okay. Republican now, right now.
We'll have to wait for Fran to come
No,
back.
she just went to college.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know you were gonna be talking about individuals and things like that, but I didn't know for sure. We'll just- Sorry for the holdup, we're just waiting for Roger List, so.
Is there anything else we would be doing on the working session?
I don't know if Donna has, most of the stuff I have, like the land claim and that stuff is all exactly.
You know, I can give you a real quick update on, so the 2020 budget right now, we've collected, from what I can see that's posted, 58% of our revenue, and we're at 54% of expenses. So we're able to,
It's pretty close.
it's looking like, I don't want to jinx ourselves. It just, we're holding our own with all of the strategies that we've put in place as far as to get through this year, hopefully, without, you know, we've reduced some costs. We've done a few things to make up for some loss of revenue, because there's some pretty big chunks that haven't come in. And so we're holding our own for 2020. And as far as 2021, I'm hoping we can maybe consider a finance meeting next Thursday and take a look at where we're at with the tentative budget, or which is due, I have to file it on October 1st. And as of today, we're trying to bridge the gap in the amount of 1 million, I just deducted 1,000, so $1,700,679.
You've come a long way.
We've come a long way. You just, as I said, department head, I questioned a few things. Yesterday, he came back and he came back and said you could reduce $1,000 off this budget line, so that brings us down
Where were you
1,000.
last year with the bridge, when you had to bridge the gap? Was it higher or
It was 2
lower?
or something last year.
Was it higher last year, I think?
Yeah, we're about this. It was a little bit higher by this time last year.
But we cut so many things last year, it's hard to cut.
Well, for 5 years, we've really continuously tightened things up, right? So it does come to a point where, can I just say, if we weren't concerned about the 20% reduction in state aid, we'd be done.
Okay.
I could file this today. We'd be done, but that's a reality.
Yeah.
Is
That's
that
huge.
reduction.
Yeah.
So, fingers crossed on, federal package. But,
Okay, Roger's on there now,
Oh, good.
so.
Okay,
Mike.
the list is on and he's ready to go, I guess, right?
hi,
Eric?
Roger. The 2020 phrase of the year. I think you're muted.
Heard that a lot, yeah.
Or, can you
Please
please mute
Mute your phone.
No, we're still not getting there,
I
Roger.
have such fear of that though.
I do it all the time, not forget to mute it, when I go to talk, I have a tendency not to unmute.
My mouth isn't
So Roger, we cannot hear you.
I think Fran's,
Guess we could call him.
There's the phone right here, Fran.
Yep, you can't hear me?
We got you now.
There he is.
Yes.
Hi, Roger.
Hello. Hello. How you doing?
There he is.
Good, how are
I
you?
made it. I made it. I can't believe it, but I made it.
If you're all ready to go, sir, we're all ears.
All right, sounds good. The only one I can see on my screen is Paul, but that's okay. So this is, of course, strange times that we have to meet like this, but at least I don't have to travel 5.5 hours to talk to everybody. Everybody has a copy of the report, I believe, electronically. I have
Yes.
that one-page statement that's sort of the financial statement presentation that I'm just going to go over. And then if we have any questions, we can go after that. It's been sort of a strange audit. So we got a lot of stuff remotely from the treasurer's office and from Donna's office. And then we then actually did come on site, but not until July and August to finish up our field work. We do actually have an opinion on the Franklin County's financial statements. Special paragraph dealing with COVID-19 that we're required to put in there regarding 2020 and subsequent events after December 31st. More or less just saying that the pandemic happened and we really don't know how it's going to affect everybody financially. We did look at some stuff when we were at the location, and it looked like our sales tax was doing pretty well for counties and little towns and villages that receive any kind of sales tax is hurting from is sales tax revenues, and then also any kind of taxes or anything on occupancy is the other thing that's really hurting a lot of the different locations. Like my presentation has, is that we completed field work in July and August of 2020. There is a management letter that we have that has some comments, but we actually had some comments that came off, which was actually very good. Financial information, the government-wide financial statements, which actually includes all your fixed assets, really the things that we talk about that are a lot of the GASB or government auditing standards entries that we have to do that you don't deal with on a daily basis. You deal more with the fund financial statements, which is what you use for budgets. But our government-wide financial statements, the county has $104 million in total assets, which exceed liabilities and deferred outflows of $56.9 million. The total equity increased $0.97 million this year to $47.7 million. Total assets are up $1.48 million and are down, and liabilities are down due to the retirement calculation. Liabilities are up $1.43 million, which includes $2.9 million in New York State retirement liability and $1.1 million for post-employment. Those two amounts where it shows that our liabilities are actually up and our post-employment actually is down 1.1 million are just calculations that will change on an annual basis. I know in 2020, the New York State retirement liability is going way up because they actually determined the liability based on a March year end, which is the New York State retirement system's year end. Of course, March of 2020, the market was pretty bad shape. So you'll see a big liability in your 2020 financials. Total revenues decreased from 92.87 million in 2018 to 90.41 million this year. The biggest decrease there was in our state grants, which was a decrease of 2.46 million. Total expenses increased from 88.97 million to 89.29 million. The largest increase were in our general government support, our public safety, and home and community services for the year. But that's just our overall governmental financial statement. Ones that really matter are our fund financial statements. Our general fund had total assets of 44.96 million and liabilities of 36 million. Also had deferred inflows of 372 million. Total fund balance was $8.6 million, which was an increase of $1.5. So that's 2 years in a row that we've had an increase of like $1.5 million to our fund balance, which is really great because I know 2020 here is probably going to be a tough year to even break even. So that really built up our fund balance the last couple years, especially during this pandemic. Other governmental funds, which include your county road, road machinery, capital projects, and soil and water, community development block grant, and debt service, are all detailed in the back of the report on pages 106 and 109. The total equity decrease is $1,000, which really isn't that bad. The capital projects had a decrease of $104,000, and that's just for funding capital projects. County road decreased $134,000, and there was a decrease of $23,000 in the county road. The county road had an increase of $23,000. The road machinery had an increase of $216,000. So our road machinery fund actually had an increase in equity. The county road deficit, the county road decreased $23,000. We actually had a budget of they were going to have almost a $400,000 decrease. So they actually did a lot better than budget. General fund had $99.6 million in revenues and $92.5 million in expenses. It also transferred $5.5 million to other funds, which included about $3.7 million to the county road. The total revenues, expenses, general fund pretty much remained consistent with 2018. The budget to actual, which is always important. The budget is on page 101 of our report, which shows the original budget of $94.8 million, amended to $97.4 million compared to revenues of $95.1. Also, the original budget expenses of $95.8 million, amended to $98.8 million compared to the actual expenses of $93.6. So the final budget had a $1.1 million deficit, but we actually had a $1.5 million surplus. So we did a lot better than we were expecting from the previous year, and I think most of that was some of our sales tax revenue and just making sure our expenses were in line, especially towards the end of the year. I know Fran and Donna made sure that there weren't any excess spending towards the end of the year and cutting off purchasing, which actually was very helpful to the budget. Any questions with any of those numbers? I know I went through them pretty quickly, but all in all, it's actually a very good financial picture for the county for the end of 2019. Also, part of our audit is the single audit, which is on the next page there. The single audit pages start at page 112. We noted that there were no findings or material weaknesses or significant deficiencies for the county. We looked at 3 different separate grants. We looked at the aging cluster, which are the Office of the Aging grants, the TANF funding, and then we always have to look at medical assistance. That's a required grant that we have to look at on an annual basis. Also, prior year comments are on pages 126. So the only comments that are in the report are comments from the Solid Waste Authority, which actually we did the audit for last year. We noted a lot of improvements, and we're hopefully that when we're doing the audit this year that we're going to see even more improvements with the solid waste with their accounting. They had quite a few different problems in the past, but I think they're getting those things rectified. The schedule of federal financial assistance is on page 114 and 115, which shows all your federal grants that you receive from the federal government, and which is around $14 million. Other information in our financial statements. The footnotes to the financial statements are on pages 34 through 91. I think every year our footnotes get bigger and bigger with different special notes. On page 90, we have a special note dealing with COVID-19 regarding subsequent events. There's a special section at the end of the report for pages 128 to 134 for the Department of Transportation for New York State that we are required to file. And we had no comments with any of that. I also mentioned about the budget to actual on page 101. We also have a management letter that's in our report. We'll go over a couple of things with our management letter. My first one is policies and procedures, and I think in the management letter that I do, I always talk about, it's always good to look at your policies and procedures and review them on an annual basis. Just making sure that you're up to date on all your procedures. The next comment is dealing with grant monitoring. I did have this in our report last year. I know Donna the office is working diligently with this, but I just kept it in because still it's hard to locate some of these grants. There's a lot of grants that are received that say that they're state grants, but they're actually flow through the federal government. So those are the ones that we always want to make sure that we're catching all those different grants. And I have just a list of things just to make sure that we're reviewing those items. Number 3 is dealing with fixed assets. We had sort of a little bit of a transition this year with fixed assets. The person that was working with fixed assets had retired. So we just had some issues with getting some of the reports and just making sure that we're getting the right information and picking out all the right assets. We also had discussion with the highway department to make sure that they are giving the right information to the treasurer's office and for recording fixed assets. That if there's a road that they completed, let's say they're doing County Route 24 and they completed 10 miles of this road this year, we're planning on doing another 5 miles next year, that we finish that road, it's done, those 10 miles we can capitalize it. Number 4 is dealing with our highway department inventory. That we just went down there. We haven't really picked them in a while. And we really thought that strengthen the controls a little bit with the inventory there. There's not a lot of inventory, but the door is open, and I just to look at those controls and really strengthen those controls over the inventory at the highway department. Office of the Aging, we actually had that as one of our major programs. We didn't have any findings or compliance issues, but just with tidying up a little bit of their documentation on their claims. She does a wonderful job in putting together worksheets and things, but just sort of making sure all our worksheets tie to one claim. We had some instances where we had some minor differences, so just to straighten that up a little bit. And then our last comment deals with the Soil and Water District. We had a lot of issues when we were actually helping the county with the AFR this year, where they were, I think, nobody really reviews a lot of their stuff. And there was a lot of differences with their cash reconciliations, which are pretty straightforward, but they had a lot of weird items in their reconciliation. So I think we just need to have somebody monitoring some of the reconciliations going forward and getting a little bit more maybe documentation on when they're doing their annual report, because there's a lot of instances where there was differences between what their ledger said and what they actually were reporting to us and to New York State. There were other comments that were on from last year. that we've taken off some things dealing with the county auditor. One dealing with the occupancy tax that we had comments on last year. Those things all were cleared up. So all in all, I think it's a good report. I always have to have some kind of a couple little comments. But I think all in all, it's a good audit report, and hopefully 2020 will be a little bit better, especially dealing with this COVID situation. Do I have any questions?
So Roger, I always ask this question. I think I've asked it to you for about 33 years now, as long as you've been coming. Two things. All the figures sound good. Everything sounds like we're right on where we. The taxpayer concern, their concern is usually two things. Are we handling county taxpayer funds properly? And are we managing the county correctly? So I'm taking from what you've said that, yes, we are handling county taxpayers' dollars in an appropriate manner, and we're trying to do the best we can to manage the county correctly. Is that a fair statement?
That is fair, and I think we've been diligently towards the end there with looking at our, with the treasurer's office, working hand in hand with Donna's office, making sure, looking at cash flow, looking at expenses, and really looking at what we're spending money on for the county, that it is for the benefit of the taxpayers, but also trying to keep that tax level down so that you're not spending frivolously. I think they do a great job, and I think they need a round of applause because it's tougher and tougher every year to keep those expenses down. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Applause we can give us, money we have trouble.
No handshakes. No handshakes. All right. Any other questions or thoughts? I'm surprised. Donna, do you have any comments? Usually you have something to say, so that's why I'm surprised.
Well, Roger, I appreciate the management letter because, it really gives us something that we can work on, and I'll always strive for some improvement and, or sometimes just a change. And so we really do appreciate that kind of input from you. And we also appreciate you, giving us advice throughout the year. And we'll also, have you take a glance at our 2021 budget, tentative budget, because
Right.
your feedback on that is always appreciated as well.
Right, yeah, and I think.
Because sometimes you can tell us where we can find a little money.
Right. Well, and I think 2021 is going to be a tough year too, because I have a feeling that, a lot of this free money, and I know a lot of Franklin County wasn't one of the ones that got a lot of the free money, but there's somebody's going to have to pay for it. And I hate to say it, it's sort of been the state's prerogative is to push some of those expenses down to local municipalities and counties. So I'm worried about 2021 because the state has to cover their $1 billion shortfall, and that usually comes down to the counties and towns and villages. So I think 2021 is going to be a tough year.
And Roger, I think that's where we may have to do something with some of the services we provide that aren't mandatory.
Yeah.
Because we have to look at everything once we get down to that point.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that, but the problem is that there's still so many of those mandates and things that you have to deal with, and got to make sure the roads are in good shape and the bridges and all that stuff. Those are the things that cost the millions of dollars. That's usually tough to cut out of the budget. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry I was a little bit late getting on. I had a little trouble getting onto this web meeting, but I think it went pretty well.
Thank you, Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
All right, very good. Everybody have a good rest of 2020 and stay safe.
You too, Russ.
Thank you.
Well, that was very
Well, the way it
good. I
has
think
to-
everybody, it's a team effort, that's the main thing.
It's really a team effort.
Right.
Everybody's done their job very well. My opinion, I think all the rest of it shows.
Yes.
Well, I think working together has been made a big difference. I mean, the two offices working together has made a
Right.
huge difference. I mean,
Yeah.
And going through the budget line by line with each department is key, and,
Yeah.
you know, there's hard cuts that have had to be made, but the
and more have
department,
to be made.
Maybe
That's
more.
what I
me and
think.
Fran and Sherry have done a great job. Thank you.
Yep, and I think we'll get there by on the 24th.
Okay.
Oh, good,
Yep,
really?
I think we will, don't you, Fran? I mean, you know,
Sleeping okay at night?
Yeah, but how are we gonna get there?
It definitely is a bright spot for a gloomy past 6 months with all the stress and everything.
Yeah.
I-
The uncertainty and what the state's been telling us and stuff, man, it's so much uncertainty that, wow, what do you do? You know?
Yeah.
You kind of have to sit back and wait a little bit, but at the same time, you gotta be ready to adjust.
well, we're really waiting, so some of the revenues that have come in historically for our emergency services department, we have not gotten our letters yet, and that's a significant amount of funding. Were you in on the email this morning that the state just doesn't know about two grants? I've taken one of them that offsets cost to our dispatchers, and I've reduced that by 20% and put that in the budget, hoping for the best. But, you know, if we don't get that, then we have to, make some further adjustments somewhere along the line. But if you logically think about it, the way we've been hearing, it's 20% reduction. So short of leaving all of that revenue out, which is about 187,000, I think.
184.
184, I just reduced it by 20% and I've put that in. So, you know, I can further discuss that a little bit, in more detail next week. Maybe we'll hear something by next week. So we'll go through some of those things, but it's been tough because, as I said earlier, if we had all of our state revenue that we normally get, then we would be able to file the budget and not have to make some of the difficult choices that we've made in preparation for this. Where are we gonna get 1.7 million? That's a really good question. And we just keep going over it line by line, and we reach out to department heads and say, can you look at this? Can you do this? What about this? You know, you've got this reserve, can we use any more of that? So those conversations are happening. And I know Frank alluded this morning that we didn't get through his budget, which is true. We ran out of time to get through the indigent legal services budget. I think we were there for, like an hour and a half? And so, I've asked, Jill for some of our grants to see if we can put some modifications in, to cover some things. So it's a work in progress.
It's too bad they wouldn't on our mandates take 20% off, so we don't have to pay 20% more on the mandate.
That's right. Well, one of the big increases you will see in the 2021 budget, and we were hit with this April 1st of 2020 with no anticipation. So any individual at the Franklin County Jail who needs to go into a forensic, basically psychiatric placement, that cost used to be shared. The county picked up 50% and the state picked up 50%. So it usually ran us between $300,000 to $500,000 just in any given year. Well, you'll see a $950,000 budget line now, because on April 1st, we were now required to cover the entire cost. So the state's not putting in, It's an unfunded mandate.
Another one of his unfunded
Yeah,
mandates.
and so, you know, it's $500,000 in, that we're trying to make up this year that, you know, we didn't budget for.
We also have the issue of the nearly 300,000 that we're losing next year for the distressed hospital fund out of our
Oh,
sales
the
tax.
yeah.
That's additional that we would have received in sales tax money next year that
He's going
will
to,
be pulled before we get our distribution. Along with the AIM, so
Last
now,
year was
right,
aimed at
we're close to $800,000 being removed from
taking right off the
county's
top.
portion of sales tax to pay for AIM and distressed hospital fund next year.
What type of funding do you receive from the state for the sheriff's department?
oh,
Do you
I
have?
don't have
very
a budget
little.
here with me, but there's very little state funding.
Yeah.
But the lower numbers at the jail, maybe that'll make a difference with this mental health stuff maybe, or we'll probably only get the ones that have mental health issues.
Well, the reason I was asking is because the police reform that,
You mean inmates or everybody?
jail has to work on, you know, what type of funding does the state give the jail with this police reform?
No, we haven't received any funding. It's very little state funding. I can shoot you off those figures.
Do you guys have a meeting set for this conversation for the police reform yet?
Well, so I was on a webinar, whatever day, Paul, I don't know what day you called me. I emailed you, I'm so lost in days, so I apologize. It was Tuesday. There was a webinar from, NISAC, and so I jotted down some notes. And I was going to tomorrow send out an email on that. There's basically, they propose 4 stages, main stages that you need to
There, yeah,
address, and District Attorney Carrero will be
the lead.
the lead, I think,
He's
right?
went through the book, I give him the book that I
Yeah.
got,
Mm-hmm.
and he's went through the book, and well, we asked the sheriff here if he was gonna get something from cause he hasn't come up with anything that I know of yet anyways, but,
It's gotta,
So
you have to start your stakeholder meetings now.
yes, so and reviewing all the policies now, so the, one of the lead speakers, was an undersheriff, I don't have it with me, from, I think it was Onondaga County maybe, so he's really taking the lead.
It
and
sounds
he's-
like, I think it's Onondaga, because we're,
Yeah,
as NICOM, and
Yeah.
we're going through the same process,
oh, good,
so
so,
it'd be good if we could do our public hearings all together though.
right?
There's a lot of communication, so we'll have to see if, I'll send him an email asking if he could confer with the local village police departments and try to do our public
Well,
hearings
because as
together.
the DA, especially with Craig, we're all gonna need Craig in our stakeholder meetings.
And probably Susan Levine and.
And Susan, and
Yeah, and there's gonna be certain
school
people that are gonna be
districts.
the
Yeah.
same people for the same different areas.
yeah.
When you start going to the community groups.
So I actually took pictures of the slides on my phone, just a couple of them, so I can share those as
I
well,
got that
because you
book in
can't
there,
write
too.
that fast, so I.
I
it's
got
like
the.
146 pages.
Right, it's a thick book, but if you go down through it, like you have a road patrol and things like that, Franklin County doesn't have a road patrol, so a lot of those things don't apply to Franklin County that I can see. I know there's some things that we have to do as far as how you treat people and things like
Yep,
that.
and
because
correction officers are in there.
Corrections officers
Yeah.
are our biggest thing,
Yeah.
and I know we have people that transport people to courts and things like that, but that's really minor compared to what it used to be even. So, a lot of those things don't have a big effect on us, but we still have to go through the steps.
So, I mean, we were pleased with the audit overall, and we've added, from 19, we added to the fund balance, which brings us to,
We're at around 9%.
right, and
The state recommendation is 10.
10.
Very
Um,
close.
What did we have when we started all this, though? It was like 1 or 2%.
We had very minimal funds. We were less than $1 million.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
I think it was $857,000.
So you've
That was in
done a lot of the
2000.
right things, everybody has it, but trouble is, we can't stop doing the right things. It doesn't end
Right,
here.
have to keep doing, yeah.
You know. And we have to do some things that maybe aren't right, we have to do them, I mean, I don't say they're right, but it's gonna have an effect on different programs.
And honestly, I mean, I'm not brown nosing in any way, shape or form, but it's really been supportive and a team approach from the legislature. It's been the top down and it's been a good process and trying and doing this work. And putting us back, I don't think our stress score will change.
The score will change. We will
It'll
remain in the
improve.
same category.
Which is,
But we're very close. We're at the bottom end of that category of being susceptible to fiscal stress.
Yeah.
We could, with a little bit of work next year, if we
Wasn't
can
one
get
year we
through.
were like $300 away from where we need to be?
It was 16,000, but yes, we were very close.
15,000, it was really close, yeah.
So this year and that was last year. Last year we ended up dropping down an entire grade.
Right.
But our score has gotten much better. Through over 3.5 points, we've improved. And we're right at the limit to drop down to basically no fiscal strength.
Yeah.
We're very close.
During the pandemic.
yeah, even, I know, it's hard to
Most
believe.
of what she's talking about was done
Was
prior to-
19.
Well, that was
I
19,
understand.
but 20, with the right moves and the right handling, we could easily see an improvement for 2020, just because we jumped in at the
Early.
start of this.
Early.
We started doing precautionary measures when it all started. We didn't wait
Yeah.
until the pandemic was in full before we started acting.
Paul and Andre, how's the village budget going? Are you?
We don't start until, right now, we're
Oh,
just,
okay.
The
You
towns
started
are-
working on your budget yet?
The towns are.
the town.
The
I
towns
knew the towns were, I don't
Towns are,
understand
yeah.
what was told, so.
We're
We're just
opposite.
different fiscal period.
We're just starting our first quarter. And it's already been, we're stressed.
So Fran, anything you need from us? Anything that,
At this time, no. I'm comfortable where we are now. I don't want to
Well,
say
it's
it's
I'm coming
too
from
loudly,
day one, when you walked in with no paperwork in your office to where you are today.
yeah.
It's been a great process.
Yeah.
Struggles some days, but
Well,
thank God she didn't kick me out the door.
well, and you know, the people you work with makes a big difference a lot
It
of
does.
times, you know, it's,
I'm very lucky. I have a great staff.
Good, good, good.
and you haven't fired anybody, so that's always means they're doing their job.
I keep trying, I keep trying.
You cannot fire the willing, remember that.
We're doing okay.
And maybe someday we could have a tax action again, but the amnesty program worked out really well.
Oh,
The
it's
amnesty
good.
program was
Yeah,
good.
That's really good.
I've been told October 1st is the lift on the moratorium for foreclosures.
Oh,
So if that is the case, I mean, I would wait until October 1st to be able to say for sure, because they could change it on
Well,
that
he
day.
can extend it.
But we should be ready to go October 1st if the stay is lifted.
But we have to be really careful about the properties we take.
And those are 13s and 14s. The noticing period will begin. So that's a 3-month process. We have to give them 90 days to redeem their properties.
Yeah.
Good.
So that will start the process, and once that period is over, then we have a final number to get our paperwork ready to send up to the judge. So we'll be putting 2 years together this
But the
time,
amnesty
and
program
2
took a
years.
lot of those
We did
properties out
have
of
a
that list, so the
significant
list
number
maybe won't be
reduced.
as long as it normally is.
But we are doing 2 years together. We're doing 13 and 14s together this time. And once 13 and 14s are up with the judge, we will be nearly ready with the 15 and 16.
Oh, good.
So we are moving, title searching, bringing it in-house, as well as working with our contractors has worked very well for us right now.
I know people can pay it off through the moratorium. Do you have a rough idea of how many properties that
Had paid off.
that may be going towards the
Foreclosure?
sale for 13 and 14?
So at this point, we're nearly at 400 properties because it's 2 years together.
Oh, okay.
But that figure is not something that we're gonna take title to and go to the sale. What's gonna happen, that 90-day window really does get a big response. So we'll get a lot of people that know that's their final chance. They will come in and either pay their property off in full, or they'll enter an installment plan, and our installment plans are a 2-year payment plan. So that gets them out of foreclosure.
And any properties that look like they might be more of a hazard.
We definitely wanna look at those properties once our 90-day window is up, before we submit to the judge. We would like to have those properties looked at to be sure we do want to.
Well, maybe because we don't have the money to take care of them, you know, it's.
What we've done in the past, sometimes we present it to the different legislators and they can speak within their district as to the condition of the properties and.
And the last time we also sent those to all the code officers in each town and asked them to report on the properties, so that we knew what we were dealing
got a
with.
big report back.
So we have some credit at the landfill for some of our blighted buildings, so I'm hoping that once highway, that we set up a meeting with our highway department to start addressing, you know, a couple of our top priorities, as well as you've been working on a plan in Fort Covington on those,
The two fire damage
two,
properties.
on the fire damaged properties, and I know you've had to consult with John Miller, or you're
And we're
waiting to? You're-
Fine with it, we've already discussed that.
Okay,
so-
you're okay with moving
That's-
forward as is,
Yes.
okay.
But we do have to remediate the one on Main Street. That one will have to be worked on by the county. Barriers have to be put up for
Oh,
safety. That is one that our Fort Covington and our highway department will have to take care of.
Are they working on that already?
I don't believe it's been done yet, but I'll reach out to
Oh, they are
the highway
talking about
department.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Which one's that now?
on the
one
main
on
street, the
Main
corner.
By the bridge.
Oh, no, yeah,
The one by the bridge.
the update this morning, I talked to Brad, he's sending out an email to Rob Haynes, and because of the public safety issue. And Fran's been down, she looked at both of them, and, you know, she mentioned about, you know, we should tear at least, probably at least 3 different buildings down this year, if I'm correct, one of them.
If the funds are budgeted and we have our allowance with solid waste, if we don't begin acting on them, then it's a waste to have that budgeted.
We need to use those.
We need to be able to
Use them
remediate
up.
these properties, it's vital, because the longer we wait, the worse they get, and they do become a public safety issue.
Yeah.
So I do think we need to start being active on
Yeah.
remediating the county
If we have a balance
properties.
at the landfill, we need to use that every.
Yeah, every year, because
Yeah,
that's
every year.
not, that doesn't roll over.
Now, can that balance help another municipality that might have a building if we don't have something? Can you roll some of that over to somebody else?
We can ask.
Not them all.
We can.
I've got an aggressive plan.
No, at one time we talked about having like a 10-acre plot just for, the solid waste talked about having, just for municipalities, landfill, things like buildings and things like
How
that.
can we develop,
We'd have to
we
talk
work
to
with
Todd
Todd
and see if
Terry,
we can work through that.
Todd's,
He's great to
he's
work
done an
with.
amazing job down at the landfill. If you have not been down there since the change, you need to go down there and see it, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the landfill's a landfill, but
It's not a bad looking landfill,
No.
is it?
it's clean, it's organized. Yeah.
Yeah, Todd's done a great job.
But that's something we have.
Well, you see it in the audit.
Yeah,
Roger List normally has always complained
Yeah.
about Franklin County landfill for years, and
yeah, these are really,
Minor.
really, the few things in there are really, I don't wanna say easy fixes, but you know, that it's certainly not to the level that we were used to in the
No.
past.
Well, sometimes having the right people in the right place there also is good.
With Todd there, and there's been some changes on the board, I think the biggest thing, the aspect that you notice down there is the transparency.
The transparency, the professionalism, and the collaboration, quite frankly.
What's the credit the county has down there? How much money do we have budgeted for removal of old buildings or landfill
I
fees?
believe we have, I think it's 40,000 a year.
That's what
And
we
that
have
doesn't go
budgeted,
with
or that's
that.
what we have credit, Donna?
No, that's our credit, and then we get another 20 for our trash removal. Is that what you think it is, Fran, or am I wrong on that?
It's 40 and 20, the county currently for 2020 has $30,000 budgeted for costs that we would have to incur to tear down those buildings.
Right, so we put money in our budget to cover some of that, but then we also have a credit at the landfill for disposal.
But
So
Fran,
is it then correct to say that there's 70,000 that we could spend to tear down? Is that right, Donna? 40 and 30?
Yeah,
Yeah, but isn't some of that money there for, say it's a county building, we have to close it up, put plywood on it and bar up the doors and stuff, isn't that money go toward that? too?
maintenance, you have.
I do use
Yeah.
some,
Yeah,
Of those
because
ones.
I know, I've heard, we all have heard complaints about that kind of stuff all
Yeah,
over. And I don't even know if they're county buildings up here or not, but
Did we start with 50 in there, or did we start with 30?
This year's 30,
Okay,
this year's 30.
we've increased
I
it
did
for
increase
next
it for
year.
next year.
In this budget, we might have to decrease it a little, just a little bit to balance it, but it'll be more than the 30.
And what are the list of properties that we're hoping to get tore down this year? You said there's 3 of them?
Well, there's
There's
Cinema Plaza,
There were the
Yep.
2 in Fort Covington that we have to remediate because of the fire damage.
we now have to do Fort Covington, yeah.
but
And
they aren't
then-
gonna be a bad remedial because there's nothing left there.
Correct,
hardly.
they're basically down.
So you
And
won't have to do an asbestos survey on them because they're charred?
They're not there.
Yeah, I mean.
We don't have to do a survey on any of them if we take it to the landfill as hot material.
we just have to
Well,
treat it
yeah,
all.
but hot material, you're double the price, where.
No, it's not. Not at the landfill. It's only, it's just a few dollars more
It's
per
60
ton.
and 80.
Yeah.
Right, so it's
CND
$20
is
more a
60.
ton.
Could have an air quality control person.
Right, and that's cost, that's the amount of this.
That doesn't show up in the landfill fee, it shows up
Right.
in the
That's
town's
what the
fee.
30,000 would, part of that would go for. So besides the Fort Covington properties, we need to start on the Cinema Plaza, at least start it, getting it a little more secure and, before winter. And then we need to,
We have a couple on
The 2
37
on
over
Fort
here.
Covington.
2 on
Street.
Fort Covington Street,
Yeah.
those,
Are actually
69 and the next one.
Yeah.
I would say it's 71, but I don't really know if that's the number.
One's there.
It's the gray building, and which actually the structure of the gray building is not damaged, it's that small, that
It's just a
addition they
small
built.
addition for right
That's
now.
what's, but the red house, the red apartment building next door, that is structurally in
Falling in
trouble.
its
The
foundation.
foundation is
So
caving.
the other one could be rebuilt if somebody wanted
Yes.
Just wait.
to take a lot of work, but it could be done.
Yes, they should, some kind of housing renewal should come
But it
in
doesn't
and
fall again.
revitalize
And
that.
not the gray one, that addition is, the building itself is not, but the red apartment building next door is falling in, and we do have to replace it.
Yeah, the code officers condemned that and put you on notice.
The court officer condemned a lot at one time.
We're working through those steps now.
So is the county are we gonna come up with a plan to get those buildings down, or is that committee working on that already to see what the cost is gonna
Yes,
be?
they are.
Yeah,
Yes,
Paul goes
yeah.
on and a few have been on site and with the team. Go ahead,
Yes.
Paul.
Yeah, I've been on, and I've been down with Brad and Ed both, and also Fran, and we looked it over, and the, public safety issue, as far as Fort Covington, we got one of those there is gonna be really not too expensive at all, fairly reasonable. It's not hot or nothing, just, it's in the cellar, it's just gotta be cleaned up and then covered. And then the other one is a safety issue as far as it's next to the state highway and the potential of somebody driving off there. Brad's gonna email this morning to get that taken care of with the state, and then that's gotta be cleaned up. The big expense is gonna be, Turtle Street, and that's also a public safety issue. We went there, we looked at it, John Miller was there. Greg, were you there?
I wasn't
Greg,
there.
Andrea, and, that right there, you can see the front wall, there's a potential there, to collapse, to fall. And that's a 4-story building that the county doesn't have the equipment, so we'd have to hire like a long arm or some equipment there. And at the same time, gotta hire the trucks with the proper apparatus to take the hot material to the landfill. That's the expensive one.
Plus, there's a national grid issue there
Yes,
with the power pole where it's located.
yeah, and the power line's running through the back too. So that one there is gonna be the tricky one. The 2 in Fort Covington, one of them, probably a matter of a day or less, down there. And the other one, probably another day and a half. They're not bad at all. It's Pearl Street, and we can't overlook Pearl Street. We gotta get that one done.
Well, it's been in rough shape for a while.
And, I mean, there's a public safety issue there that's gotta be taken care of.
So to answer your questions, Ed?
Yeah, I was just wondering if they were coming up with a rough cost amount for them, but I guess it is what it is. They'll do it when they get her started, I guess.
Yeah, I think they'll go till they run out of money.
And as of right now, the town of Fort Covington is more than willing to work with the county and even provide the excavator to do that one. And, you know, their trucks are out right now, they're still doing blacktopping, but they can provide the excavator. And as soon as the county gets freed up with their trucks, you know, they gotta make contact with the town, clear it with Fran and Donna, and then move forward.
Okay, well, thank you.
County's been busy doing some streets in the village, did a very nice job on Woodward and College Avenue.
Well, I come in this other way, that's really a nice road there.
Yeah, Railroad, Maple, Woodward, Clay, we held off on the corner of Washington Street because we have to work with the state for DI right there at the corner of Washington and, Route 11, because there's such a water,
Which one's Washington?
by the post office.
Oh, okay.
So the only two organizations that are impacted by this part of the grinding of the street is the post office and the bank. And the bank is under construction right now, so we can kind of hold off as long as we can.
That's a real nice, across from here though, that's real, they did a nice job there.
We're trying to get, crosswalks done, and I have a crosswalk being put in over here that's faded away over the years, but
I just look for an open way through.
man,
Did the county help in the village?
Did the county participate?
Is it the
town,
Oh, is it the county?
town paver,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the county was up on 16.
Yeah.
I thought
Next-
they were-
yeah.
I thought they were county vehicles.
next year.
There are a lot of them that, quite a bunch.
Was that a county road, that picture you sent?
I think so. I think it's totally Colby Road.
What's that?
Or say, are you talking about the truck?
No,
No, she sent another picture.
Oh, I went out for
of
some
something
time.
that
Yeah,
needs
we
some
go
work,
out.
for sure.
They put the shoulders on it, it's on there now.
Going back to the sweeper, the sweeper, so I think, you know, Roger indicated it, and I think we can use some road machinery reserve to,
It's a sweeper vacuum, right? Because they said they could do culverts and everything with it.
I just know it's 255,000 and some change, Don.
So hopefully,
I don't have the specs
Ed
on
bring
it.
forward that he
I
wanted to buy a
definitely think it's
flusher
more
or
than a
no?
sweeper.
What's that?
Is Ed looking at a flusher or no?
Was it all included?
I think this will do it all.
I think it'll do it
I
all.
think he's, to flush his culverts.
Yeah,
Culverts
you
and
can
stuff.
suck the sand out of it rather than trying to flush them with a guard barrel.
No, but what, they normally use
Sump
that
pump.
sump pump.
Will you make those, are you
Pressure
gonna?
washer.
So the equipment is budgeted,
Yeah.
but I need to know the portion that can come from
Oh, yeah,
the
so I
road
need to.
reserve as well as the fund.
Yeah, so I need to get the
Miles, county road miles.
I need to find out how, the number of miles on the Jericho.
Contract.
We have a reserve for the Jericho wind farms too, and so we can use that reserve for any portion of road work that we do, so I'll divide 266 miles, Paul, we have?
Yeah, I believe
266.
61 roads, 266.
I'll divide it by that and then figure out how many miles on Jericho.
And
But-
that percentage can be paid for with that
Yep,
road
and then
fund,
reserve.
and then we just use the fund balance for
But
road.
we'll save money labor-wise because we have sometimes 8-10 guys on a corner.
That's what Ed said that day, he was saying,
Yeah.
you can do it with this, two
Yeah.
instead of 6 or 7.
Especially like this year, it seemed like we spent 3 months, almost as much as what we spend in blacktop every year,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Cleaning up.
Every year, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, so this'll be a huge asset to us, I
Well,
think.
sometimes you gotta spend money to do things the right way. And you
Yeah.
save money in the long run.
And you might save money in the long run.
It's like the hot box. We're hoping we'll save money with the hot box.
Yes,
Yes.
No,
Yes, yes.
So, I mean, there's changes to be coming in the future, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we keep working at it.
The change, there's,
But there's been a lot of roads done again this year. They've done a good job. I think our highway department getting things done again this year.
Tell you what, you go down County Route 32, go down County Route 8, part of County Route 3, 17, there's, I think, part of 10. Lindy, I think there's 4 or 5 up in your area they worked on this year.
47, 50, and 55 and 60.
Yeah, that's,
And there's more work to be done when they get the permits.
well, when you have a working foreman
Yes, there's
or
more to
highway
be done.
superintendent assist, or what's that,
Deputy.
deputy? I mean, you
Yeah,
noticed the
it's
change
very
this year. He's done an amazing job.
So,
Penny?
Yeah, is there Gerald Langdon supposed to be coming up here?
Jared Lang.
Gerald Langdon.
No.
Oh, John, do you wanna go speak with him?
Oh,
You know.
Do we have any more work? We don't really have any more work session stuff.
You finished with us?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming up and.
Thank you so much.
Ladies doing a fine job.
You guys
Good
make
work
it, you guys make it look like it's easy.
The chair of your committee must be really good to work with.
I don't know about that.
We do it all.
You're doing a hell of a job.
Thank you.
You know, if we're gonna be long-term here, we should have them run this up
That's right.
on a longer cord and just drop,
You did a good job
so we
of
can
talking
drop
her
it
into
anytime.
We talked her into it.
That's right, that's a good idea.
Morning, Mayor.
So somebody doesn't fall on it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, she told me to.
See, who we missing
And
here?
now we're recording.
I guess everybody's here. We'll do the call to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And you were
Let's see. Okay. So I'll call the roll call. Legislator Lozon.
Here.
Legislator Januszewski.
Here.
Legislator Dumas.
Here.
Legislator Lockwood.
Here.
Legislator Dubuque.
here.
Legislator Maroon.
Here.
Legislator Ellis.
Here,
Okay, I have prepared the minutes from the September 3rd, 2020 meeting.
We get a motion and a second to accept them. Paul?
Yeah.
Greg? Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, for correspondence, I have the County of Franklin financial statements and supplemental information, including the single audit report for the year end of December 31st, 2019 from R.A. Mercer and Company. I have a retirement letter from Bradford Marsh, the County Highway Superintendent, effective September 29th, 2020. I have a letter from New York State Department of Taxation and Finance acknowledging the receipt of a copy of our local law 1 of the 2020 enhancing enacting the extension of the county's additional 1% rate of sales and compensating use taxes for the period of December 1st, 2020 through November 30th, 2023. I have a letter from the New York State Homeland Security and Emergency Services stating that Franklin County was awarded $66,824 under the 2020 State Homeland Security Program. And I have a letter from the New York State Homeland Security and Emergency Services stating that Franklin County was awarded $290,000 under the 2020 Operation Stone Guard program.
Okay, can I get a motion and a second to accept these? Lindy? Paul? Any discussion on any of the correspondence? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, so I'll go into resolutions. Resolution number 192 is offered by Public Works and Services Committee relating to authorization to create and fill a position transportation.
Get a motion and a second. Paul and Lindy, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 193 offered by Public Works and Service Committee relating to authorization to amend resolution number 185, authorization to increase hours part-time head bus driver position to a full-time head bus driver position, transportation.
Motion and a second. Paul and Greg, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 194 offered by Human Resource Committee relating to authorization to amend resolution number 179, authorization for county manager to enter into an agreement with Adirondack Health Institute to provide healthcare services.
Motion and a second. Andrea? Paul?
Yeah.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 195, offered by Public Works and Services Committee relating to appointment of Franklin County Highway Superintendent.
Give a motion in a second. Paul? Greg? Any discussion?
Don, we had talked about previously about, if you get certifications in like asbestos abatement or, code enforcement stuff, like a salary adjustment or whatever, but that doesn't have to be in there, but that's talk for the future when that happens.
Right, when it happens, we need to discuss that for sure. Any more discussion about the new highway superintendent? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 196, offered by Public Works and Services Committee relating to authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible cost of a transportation federal aid project in appropriate funds therefore.
Motion in a second. Paul? Wendy? Any discussion?
Do we need to do roll call on this one? You don't think so?
I can. Do you want to just do it?
Well, it's just easy to do it then if you think we might. We're not sure if we have to do roll call on this, but we're gonna do it just to be safe.
Okay, Legislator Lozon,
Yes.
Legislator Janicki.
Yes.
Legislator Dumas.
Yes.
Legislator Lockwood,
Yes.
Legislator Debut,
Yes?
Legislator Maroon,
Yes.
Legislator Ellis.
Yes.
Okay, good. Passed with 7 ayes. Resolution. Resolution number 197, offered by Legislator Debut, Lozon, Janicki, Dumas, Lockwood, Maroon, and Ellis, relating to proclaiming September as National Recovery Month.
Motion in a second. Andrea and Wendy, any discussion on this? I think we all need a national recovery month, but, all in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 198, offered by Legislator Debut, Lozon, Janicki, Dumas, Lockwood, Maroon, and Ellis, relating to proclaiming September as Suicide Prevention Month.
Motion in a second.
I
Andrea,
Move.
Paul Broom. Any discussion? I think this is some of the stuff that Chris was talking about when he was in here last week. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried.
Resolution number 199, offered by Human Resource Committee, relating to appointments to the Office for the Aging Advisory Council.
Can I get a motion in a second? Andrea? And Lindy? Any discussion? I'd just like to say thank you to people that do serve on these committees because they're thankless sometimes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 200, offered by Human Resource Committee, relating to authorization to accept and appropriate funds, Franklin County Public Health.
Motion in a second. Andrea? Lindy? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 201, offered by Human Resource Committee, relating to authorization to amend Resolution number 165, authorization to accept funding from New York State Association of County Health Officials Public Health Services.
Motion in a second. Andrea and Lindy, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Resolution number 202, offered by Human Resource Committee, relating to authorization to accept and appropriate funds, Franklin County Public Health.
Motion in a second. Andrea and Greg?
Yep.
Any discussion?
we should all get our flu vaccine.
Any more discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 203, offered by Human Resource Committee relating to authorization to enter into agreement with Fidelis Care to provide certain community home health agency services to enrollees.
Andrea and Ed, any discussion?
So this is a company that we have no issue with reimbursing us back, Katie, because I just would like you all to know that we have a company that basically owes us $108,000 worth of services that public health provided, and we're having a great deal of difficulty getting payment from them.
Now,
So,
if you go back, probably when you were here then, we had to, it might have been prior to you, we had to, remember, we had to get rid of like $300,000 back then at one time because of not being paid for
right,
things.
it's owed to us, they're just refusing to pay us, and so we're pushing back on that and hope that they do the right thing and pay us for those services. It was a company that we had and they were bought by another company, so the other company is not honoring the contract that we had with the company that they purchased. And so it's about $108,000, so I just wanted to go on record around that.
Yeah, and are we still doing business with them or do we have?
We are not.
We are not, okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 204, offered by Human Resource Committee relating to authorization to enter into agreement with Contact Tracers to provide COVID-19 case and contact investigations, public health services.
Motion, second. Wendy, any discussion on this? Do you have anything you want to say, Katie, on this?
No, other than this is the federal dollars that have come to the county, and this was mostly about hiring local contact tracers rather than whoever the state had hired. So what you'll find on that list are people for the most part Franklin County or working in Franklin County.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, quite a nice list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 205, offered by Human Resource Committee relating to authorization to accept additional revenue, public health services.
Motion is second, Andrea. Wendy, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 206, offered by Administrative Committee relating to employee recognition for the month of April 2020.
Can you get a motion?
So
and a second?
moved.
Paul, Greg, any discussion on this? I'd just like to say that somebody has 30 years and we have a couple of 20. We've got some very dedicated employees here. And what I'd like to do, if everybody's okay with it, or we could do it with the committee chair for that, even is go to these departments and actually hand them their badge, their 30-year pin or their 20 or 5 or whatever. So.
Great.
Okay, so that's, I'll plan on doing it, and when I do it, I'll get a hold of whatever department or chair for that committee, and if they wanna come with me, that's okay, okay?
Okay, good.
It'd be nice, 20 years, 30 years is a big deal.
Long
It
time.
is,
Working for Franklin.
yeah, most of these are very good employees, I mean, probably they all are, most.
Oh, my friend Marcy's in there for 10 years. 10 years for Franklin County.
So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 207, offered by Public Works and Services Committee relating to Malone Sidewalk Project Change Order number 1 and number 2 due to project modifications.
Motion, Paul and Wendy, any discussion?
this is all Malone takes care of all this, right? The town of Malone, right?
Mhm.
We're just a pass-through for it.
Right.
That's what it is.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 208, offered by Economic Development Committee relating to authorization to accept grant and appropriate funds, economic development.
Get a motion in a second. Ed?
Aye,
Second. Lindy and Paul? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Resolution number 209, offered by Public Works and Services Committee relating to appointment of superintendent of building and grounds.
Get a motion in a second. Paul? Lindy? Any discussion on this?
I think Paul had discussion on this, as far as code and,
Yes, this is the thing that, like Adam, he gets his asbestos abatement and certification and his building code officers, that we, give him a raise basically at the time upon certification. And previously Darren had the code, unfortunately. And we know we definitely have need for both of them. So, and they could save us a lot of money in the end.
Any more discussion?
I think the two appointments that we made today for the county are two really good appointments between highway and our buildings and grounds.
Yes.
You know, we have some longevity leaving, but we have some new coming in and
Yeah.
good appointments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Team effort.
Yeah, looks like we're going forward in the right direction. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carried. So nothing coming from the floor. Is there anything else to come before the board today?
Don,
Yes.
are we gonna have an executive session after this meeting?
Yeah, we have 11:45 with, let me see, what is it?
Bill Hahn and Kelly Burnett.
with tourism. And
Okay.
after that, we're gonna have an executive session to talk about the land claim.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, so we just gotta,
Thanks, Katie.
yes, thank you.
me as I'm getting the name. I did that intentionally, hope you don't get ahead of me.
Katie,
I thought it was a good.
are your people giving the flu shots in your office yet, or?
We're in the process of pulling that all together.
Okay.
We meet with the medical director tomorrow to start figuring out how do we do that. Our first immunization clinic was in the trailer,
Oh, is that the one you had next door here?
right?
How it was,
Wet.
wet.
We realized the tents were not for water, they must be for sun because everything drip, but you learn by doing this. It's more about the logistic of the employees than anything else. I mean, we've got the nurses, we've got the vaccine, it's the coming in, the coming out, and the social distancing and.
The trailer worked good for that though, probably, eh?
I'm sorry,
The trailer worked good for that though, probably.
it did, but it was really hard on the staff in
Oh.
terms of,
Staying
again,
away.
logistics. Highway has to drive it, we open it up, we close it up, there's even stuff from the mobile court in there, so it really,
Oh, yeah.
but actually, I do believe we are gonna continue using the trailer, but we're also maybe going off-site. We do have, quite a few Amish folks that we need to get vaccinated so that they don't get excluded from school.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the employees. I was thinking the kitchen conference room, maybe in that
In
way.
one door and out the
Yeah,
other.
that would work probably, yeah.
So,
An appointment only.
yeah. So,
I had mine.
Sure.
So do you have the
Not through
vaccine
public
that's the higher level vaccine for older individuals?
yeah, we have it all. We have the nasal for the kids and,
We'll have them separate over there.
Right there, right?
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Katie.
Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
Oh. How's everything in Tupper Lake today, sir?
All's well. Little overcast.
Oh, we can after this.
Well,
And then we're gonna adjourn and we'll come to executive session. But we gotta do this one first.
Was it part of the meeting?
Are they here?
We might as well adjourn afterwards.
There's two places here.
Hi.
Where would you
Right
Those
here,
seats right
Paul
there.
Marone and Ed Lockwood.
One for you, Paul, one for you, Ed.
And then there's
Jeremy, hi Jeremy.
Oh, did you guys put this here just for me, by the way?
Yes, actually, yes.
gotta go to the city run.
This
Once
is
you
it.
sit down, it's your
Uh,
I could go down there? Thank you.
Ed, we have, Phil and Kelly and Jeremy.
Hi, guys. Thanks for coming. Very much appreciated. At the last meeting, we kind of talked and wanted to hear what Phil and Kelly, what you guys were working on for the fall and this winter. Yeah, we just want to see what's going on out there and, take it away. Phil, Kelly, whichever one would like to go first and just kind of give us a little bit what you guys are doing.
Sure. I don't want to, actually, if you'd like to go first.
So it's been a while since we've been here, so thank you for having us. And I think probably the big thing to address first when it comes to tourism is the pandemic and everything that we've been going through and how we are using that to sort of plan for the fall and into the future as far as we know it now. We've definitely seen a big uptick in visitation in the southern portion of the county this summer. And it still is continuing into September when typically it slows down by now. And I think for us, it's really being able to communicate the message well to get visitors and residents and the interaction with visitors just comfortable with the way things are. It's really just building back up that confidence in the traveler and their experience once they get here. But yeah, and feel free to jump in at any time, Phil, if you want to add anything. Keep going, yes.
So you're continuing to see a high level of folks coming to the village, to the area?
To the area, correct. Yeah, and in talking to stakeholders and at a recent TAC meeting, it is that way, not just our opinion, that sort of, the Hotel Saranac has had a better August than last August.
Were their rates the same, or for the most
For
part?
the most part, yes, yeah, and they play with their rates quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yes, as a whole, it was right on par with how it was last year. So I think it's really more the messaging of just that comfort level, being able to communicate if there's any updates and travel restrictions or regulations or dealing with restaurants and that kind of thing, just so that message is clear.
I read in the paper that real estate is really selling well also, so are we doing anything to promote people buying up here in real estate? Because that's economic development, no matter how you look at it, and tourism in a way, but it's.
Yeah, I read something as well, Don, that a lot of folks from, other areas are finding that this is a delightful place to relocate to, so
Right.
interested to hear more about that.
Yeah, for me, I think a big part of, like you said, it is the economic development of tourism is that, and we do find that people that travel here always, want to come back or wish they could live here. And so we are seeing that in the southern end, just as like a point of reference. I have been in the co-working space that we have in Saranac Lake over the past few weeks and just seeing the people that are coming here. And I think, Donna, you mentioned it about your family being able to work remotely from here on one of those focus group calls, that it's, we're really seeing that a lot. And I think that's why it's extending past our typical summer season, is that they're feeling safe and comfortable and it's a nice respite from everything else they have going on. And so they are looking to extend their stay, not in even the typical like hotel lodging situation, but in short-term rentals, becoming longer-term rentals, becoming maybe,
So I have a question for you. Legislator Digby, you asked about
what are we doing to promote, living here? I would say in the north end that there's almost a shortage of properties for sale, properties are going on the market.
Everywhere.
And they're flying, it's a seller's market for sure. And so I guess my question is, is there really something to market right now, or are the properties in the south end pretty much all taken up and selling as quickly as they are up here?
They're selling, yeah, it's more of kind of an issue of not pricing local people out at this point, which is, sort of the problem that we were met with pretty quickly. Things have changed.
A lot of the properties on the southern end are a lot more money than the properties on the northern end also.
Yes.
So are there properties, because I don't really know if there's a lot of real estate properties available in Franklin County.
When they, on the lakes, as soon as they come up on the lakes, they're gone.
Yeah.
You've been asking the price and more.
Oh, well, yeah, asking price and more, you're right. I know the lake that we're on, if something comes up, they're taking it right away.
Yeah, and I've heard that people are giving more than the asking price most of the time.
Many more.
People realize what we have up here is beautiful, and the one thing to help us continue to keep them here is we need broadband and,
cell phone
coverage. It's extremely important that we continue to advocate. I know, Assemblyman Jones and Senator Little continue, but as, local leaders, we need to keep pushing it also as much as we can.
Because that does make a big difference in where they can come here and stay
It
for.
does.
Assemblyman Jones and myself met with White Pine Camp on Wednesday, and, they just kept saying, we need we had one bar at their camp. And, they're full, they've been full since the day that they could open up after COVID, like the 2 weeks after the break of COVID beginning.
My daughter and her husband live abroad, and because they're working remotely in India, they're able to extend their stay here because they can work remotely there, or they can work remotely from my house. And so it's almost an opportunity for us if we have those kinds of amenities around broadband, and that would invite, it's just a perfect example of saying people could stay here longer.
Right.
As long as we have good access to internet.
And you have cell phone service problems right in your area.
But I have Spectrum internet, and so that they can at least, and for cell phones, you can do so much without a cell phone plan as long as you have a Wi-Fi access. They can make calls, and you can do all of that remotely, right?
Yeah, that's why we're seeing so many people at the co-working spaces, because they don't have broadband where they're located, because they're coming up from, Brooklyn and getting places on the lake, and they don't have service, so they're coming into town, and
Yeah, but I could use better cell phone service, you're right, Don.
Yeah, but maybe that'd be more along the economic development line. Maybe we need cell phone or internet cafes and things like that would help some of these people
Well, it's
out.
turning out to be more important than ever now, right now. We have parents that are struggling with their kids at school, from school. They're doing remote learning, and, it's not just tourism, it's what we're going through now as a whole process of
It's
COVID.
about quality of life.
Businesses are, have remote workers now, and, it's a big shout for
It's a new
everyone.
world.
Yeah. And the governor did promise everybody was gonna have internet, so broadband.
So are there things that you're planning on for the fall and winter relative to marketing?
Yes, there's ideas that we have, there's no plan set in place in stone, so any feedback is very helpful. I know one thing that, and I think you were involved with this, Lindy, in Saranac Lake through the village, is having signage that encourages people to wear a mask, and it's just some messaging like that that kind of can increase the comfort level. And I did bring a copy to show. I think some of you might have seen it. Was the picnic promotion that we put. So restaurants went through that hard time where they're limiting their indoor seating and restaurants were taking a hit. But in Saranac Lake, Malone, and Tupper Lake, we have a lot of outdoor dining spots, eating spots, and just communicating that message that you can still grab and go food, and kind of extending that message. So things like that, I think, will be something that we should promote fall and into the future.
So in all fairness, Lindy, I believe they have developed a plan that is now in TAC's hands.
Okay.
And so I think that, they don't want to formally get into the plan because TAC will be coming to make a plan recommendation, is that?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that we
is-
do wanna be respectful of
yeah,
the process.
And that's
Yeah.
what we asked for.
Yeah, so I think to talk about this plan specifically, but we,
We asked that you work directly with TAC to come up with plans and solutions and things like that, because there was a disconnect there before, and we wanted to get rid of that disconnect.
Sure.
I don't know, so I guess the only other thing at this point to add, to build onto that, was what we heard from TAG, was sort of that funding is tight in this difficult time for everybody, for our attractions, our assets, our businesses, and a real strong desire for more of a co-op marketing initiative where we can just leverage the funds to extend farther. And so that's sort of an idea.
We have to, because the funds are limited, yes,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, so being aware of that and kind of being able to help facilitate those partnerships, and, you know, whether it's a ski and stay, or, you know, currently there's like, it's fall golf is a big one, right? So just kind of making those connections, and going back to the real estate, residential real estate is really hot. There's definitely that commercial space, I feel like, in probably all of our downtowns that, you know, that's still an area where we could build on. That's not something that's at capacity, whereas more of the residential, I feel like that is an area that.
And you've got 10 million, for Seneca Lake, you got $10 million, so you have a lot of potential, but.
Right, yes, yeah.
Can I?
See, yeah. And so I think this is sort of just to demonstrate as a simple idea that we're able to do internally with the assets that we have to be able to promote them, and it's a little can go a long way.
So that was a nice response to COVID and the fact that, you know, a while ago we weren't able to eat indoors. You know, restaurants were still doing takeout. So I think that this is great during COVID, but I also believe that this is a fantastic opportunity to promote some of our parks and some of the places where you can go while still plugging our restaurants, right? So in the spring, I feel very strongly that even if we were to get a vaccine, people are still going to have that sense of apprehension. Gee, is it safe? What can we do? So here's another example of yeah, we may not have a vaccine. I don't know. People may not feel incredibly comfortable still sitting in a restaurant, but we're still going to be able to support our local restaurants and encourage people to take it to, whether it's the Bill King Park or the Chateauguay Rec Park, you know, places like that are those wide open spaces that bring that more of a comfort level to those that are still on the fence and feel a little nervous.
And we need to promote our campsites and things like that, where you can bring a camper in or rent a camp there, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, because all those do bring dollars into the communities.
I think we might see a lifestyle change moving forward.
I do, and I totally agree. We've spent, you know, 6 months, maybe even a little bit longer, worrying and thinking about, gee, what do we do to keep ourselves safe? So I'm not convinced that, you know, we get a vaccine next month, and I'm speculating, you know, it's not going to be next month, but, you know, it's not going to be sort of like a turnkey thing, like, oh, we have the vaccine, everything's back to normal. People are still going to be adjusting from quarantining for so long, and just the social aspect of life, I think, has changed, and we're going to have to evolve, you know, back to what it was before, and it's going to be a little bit of a process. And so stuff like this, I think, is exactly what we need to make people feel comfortable again. And
there's other options.
Exactly.
I think the lifestyle change in it is we're seeing the travel trend is changing. People aren't traveling as far. There's far less, you know, drive distance. It's more of that. And in talking to the stakeholders, the booking window, like, you know, is just half what it used to be. And for lodging properties to be able to try to accommodate that and be as flexible, because people are so nervous about what's going to happen, and committing to this, you know, week stay somewhere 4 weeks out just isn't happening anymore. Right. Yeah.
which is a good reason that we need to be a little bit more flexible with what we're doing in terms of paid media. We have to be a little bit more reactive at this point. People are planning their weekend trips on Wednesdays, for crying out loud. So if we're trying to target a bunch of people to do some winter ski and stay right now, you know, they're not there yet. But historically, right now they're starting to think about that. They're getting towards October, they're getting amped up about winter. But what we're seeing now is people are worried about, okay, what are we gonna do this weekend? So it's kind of exciting and it's a good opportunity.
More short term and quick decisions, yeah.
Exactly. So it's about getting that message in front of those people by Wednesday for the following weekend.
So that way your multimedia comes in quick, and those usually are a lot of money compared to big marketing campaigns.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
What about you, Phil?
So, so the north end of Franklin County, from your email invitation, Donna, first of all, thank you all for inviting us, but also thank you for unpausing this contract. I think that it's exciting to get back to work to promoting what we have up here. But you hinted in your email that you wanted to talk a little bit about promotion of natural resources, and then also what we would do to promote public safety. And I think the public safety thing is actually much easier than we might think. I think it's a matter of putting images out there. You know, we go to restaurants and we're sitting down, but our servers are wearing masks, things like that. So it's a matter of just taking those images and I would almost say not even making a big deal out of it, but just making it the norm, right? So people are seeing this and it's become second nature at this point. So I think that we just continue to show imagery of people that are either practicing social distancing, wearing the masks, and then every now and then putting in a little emoji out there with a person with a little mask on his face, you know, those sorts of things I think go a long way. So back to the promotion of natural resources in our area, I think that the north end of Franklin County is in a really good position to look at hiking challenges. I know Legislator Lozon, we've talked about this a little bit, but we have some fantastic family-friendly hikes up here. We see in the south end of the county and in Essex County, those trails are becoming overrun. That's just not sustainable. So there's an opportunity, I feel, to try to appeal to a larger audience and maybe bring some of those people up here. And the point of a hiking challenge, for us anyway, isn't necessarily the use of the hiking trails, but it's a means to get people to traverse the entire region. So we have, you know, we have Chateauguay, we have the High Falls, we have DeBar Mountain, we have the St. Regis area. So I mean, if we can find a way to inspire people to get through all different areas of northern Franklin County, we're going to share the exposure and potentially increase our sales tax revenue. So something to think about, probably not for this year. It's not, you know, you'll be presented with the plan from TAC, but some of the things to think about. Other opportunities we have throughout the whole county, not just the north end of the county, would be to promote our waterfalls. People are definitely intrigued by waterfalls.
Right, see a lot on Facebook now.
You see people are traveling around.
But what does that mean to people? It means peace, it means tranquility, it means safe, you know, so that goes along with that whole COVID. How do I feel safe in these areas? Where am I gonna go? I'm not going to Disney World, but you know what? These open spaces with these waterfalls are fantastic. So I've sent each of you a link to a local videographer's work. Now granted, some of the stuff may not be pertinent to what we're gonna do, but with some direction and some guidance of what we would like, there's a real opportunity to get him to help us create some good drone footage of waterfalls and even a hiking challenge that we can collectively work on to promote and bring people into this area safely. You know, we're not sending them to movie theaters or packed places. We're inviting them into our communities, but into areas that are not crowded. Another area that I think that we do need to give a lot of consideration to, and I would ask that when these meetings start up again, that I be invited to them, ATV and UTV trail networks. You know, that particularly to the north end of the county, we often have to think about what sets us apart. We are not in that blue line, and oftentimes people think, oh yeah, we're not in the blue line, but there's a good thing there too. That's okay. So we have to use that to our advantage. Because we're not in that blue line, we have the ability to use these different sports vehicles. And so, if you don't mind, Legislator Dumas, when those meetings happen again, I would love to be involved and love to pitch in any way I can.
I think Chassie just announced one, didn't she, in
Yeah, just
October?
give me a minute, I think it's October.
Yeah, it's on my calendar.
I think
I think it's October
6
6th.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Chassie and her group have done a lot of work
Yeah.
toward that, and every little bit helps, believe me.
Yeah, and that's, and no doubt that there's probably a lot more work to do, and then, another set of hands isn't a bad thing.
You know?
Especially when it's something that we can really benefit from up here.
Yeah, 'cause
So
we
I-
like the trails to go from north to south throughout the whole county, not just on one end.
Okay.
And I know it's tougher on the southern end, but I think there's still some possibilities there.
One of the big things is, not on north or south, but connect Clinton County to St. Lawrence County, and you can go wherever. Once you get the trails connected there, I mean, you can go a long way in St. Lawrence County right now on the trail system.
So one concept to think about is instead of just a linear trail, is like a hub and spoke type of approach, where you have places where people can stay and then do loops from there out through the countryside.
Mhm.
And that could help in terms of business being more prosperous, because you keep their heads in beds in particular locations, and then you have them go out and do loops and come back. And
Would you say that's similar to what is happening with snowmobiling?
it could be, or bicycling uses that approach,
For sure.
that you have 3 places that are within distance to get to, and then you do loops from those 3 places, and that can constitute a week of travel. So that's also an idea.
Also, there's a lot of land for tents and things like that too, you know, you bring their tent, their kids, and I see more of that going on now than ever too, with just our local people even.
So, I just threw the ATV and TV out there, something to think about, and I want to get involved, but you mentioned camping, so that's a good segue into my next topic. Camping this year, based on the feedback we've received from local campgrounds, they have exceeded their expectations, exceeded all goals that they had for this year, exceeded their occupancy from last year even. So camping proved to be something that people felt safe, they wanted to get there, and so it doesn't necessarily collect occupancy tax, but there is a huge opportunity there to generate sales tax. So people are staying for the first time, because I've asked Crystal Fletcher, for instance, I asked her, are you seeing new people? Are these people that haven't come in a few years, or what is this new demographic? And she said, no, it's families we've never seen before. They're completely new to the area. So we, it is what it is. We missed an opportunity, I feel, to really appeal to these people that are new to the area and get them to come out into our communities to spend their money, to spend money at dining, to spend money at attractions. So a few years ago, I know that there was a book that put together, which was okay. It is what it is. But I feel as though we need to be a little bit more. We need to embrace the digital age a little bit more. So one thing to consider for next year might be putting together QR codes that someone can scan when they get to the front desk of check-in at campgrounds or hotels. We can actually have nice graphics with some poster work, so they go up with their phone, they scan the QR code, and we can have 3 different ones, or limitless really, but we can have one for dining, places to eat in the region, and we're not just talking northern Franklin County, throughout the whole region, throughout the whole Franklin County. So we have one that, attractions, of course we wouldn't want to leave out the Wild Center, for instance, just because it's in the south end of the county, but we have something going, some sort of a digital live poster board, so to speak, that can direct people, where do we go from here? We're in this area, what are we going to do? Especially the campground people, right? They enjoy camping, we know that, but how do we know dad's not a golfer, mom's not a golfer, that they wouldn't enjoy that, So we have to inspire them, we have to give them some ideas on what to do when they're here.
They leave the kids in the tent and go play golf.
Yeah, we've got them here, and quite frankly, some people are comfortable with that, exactly. So, anyhow, so I just wanted to bring that up about camping, something to think about for next year. And really, our area is we live in a fantastic area. It's very family friendly. So I think that we have to continue to promote this whole theme of family friendly in our county. And then just one last thing to leave you with. It's kind of, I just have this vision, and Kelly, you brought it up before, but I've kind of modified it a little bit. But for winter, and keeping with the COVID idea, but I just see something like a tagline like, these are the masks we wear in Franklin County for the winter. And we'll see a snowmobiling helmet, we'll see a ski helmet, something like that, that shows, I mean, you brought that up.
Well, Wyoming
But to
is doing
show,
that, yes,
you know,
yeah, they have a good
But,
team
but for
that,
up here, how many different masks do we wear?
Right.
Right.
And it's just, I could just see a nice banner with some sort of Franklin County logo on it and just,
Yeah.
anyhow,
I think the schools are doing a contest on some of that stuff, like Messina School, I think did something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought a contest would be nice.
And that would be with people wearing those?
Doesn't even have to be. I mean, we could do a couple different variations, right? We can just have a nice backdrop with just a couple of different helmets and masks and just something to inspire people that, hey, winter in the North Country is a good, safe deal. We should look into that.
I was thinking, so to link it also with the focus on diversity, that if we do it with people wearing things, have a wide range of diversity.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, because that is something that I don't think traditionally we haven't really painted a picture of diversity in our area. So that would be a great way to introduce that for sure.
It might decide a marketing plan for somebody. Somebody might want to sell those masks and those kinds of things. And it's a profit for them too, yeah.
So I've kind of touched on a lot, but those are all ideas that I think that we can continue to expand on into 2021. And so just to, I guess I'm planting seeds in all of your minds about where we can go from here. But honestly, I just feel very strongly. We have a lot of good things to promote. And, Mr. Januszewski, we get out to High Falls and get people out there. You're going to see people spending money in that area. And
they've been busy this summer.
yeah. So, anyhow.
Andre, the Agricultural Society of the Fairgrounds, they have like a place for motorhomes and things right across the road. Do they rent them out to locals?
Nobody rented it out this year at all.
But it is a
I mean, it's
possibility.
availability, yeah, they have availability.
I don't think you've really promoted that much, do you?
No, I mean, because
During the fair, I know you always.
during the
sell
fair,
that.
but it's in the field of, there's no water around it or a pool or
I don't know, maybe they could walk to Main Street or something.
potentially. As our Main Street starts to come
Yeah.
back alive.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that.
And it is.
Yeah, slowly but surely, yeah.
So we've also talked a little about fall, and you just mentioned agriculture. So we have such a fantastic product to offer people, especially in the fall. I mentioned before that we can do some itineraries, get that out there and inspire people. Gee, what are we gonna do up there in the fall? Well, yeah, they can go camping, but we could put together sort of like a foodie itinerary where they stop at Prairie's Orchard, they stop at Myers Cheese Curd, they stop at McAdam. All the things that are really symbolic of who we are up here, what we do. We could put together another one for couples. They spend a night at the Harrigan House Bed and Breakfast. They do the leaf peeping thing. Do another one for families. We have Prairie's Orchard, the West Pumpkins there. We have the Relax and Ride Stables. Again, it's about bringing people all around this area and not just staying right in Malone at one particular attraction or venue. And I think that people are looking for that. There may be an attraction that brings people here and that's their sole reason for coming, but I think if we can paint a bigger picture about all that we can do, all that's offered in this region, we'd actually appeal to a greater audience and see some more heads in beds.
I see another county did something similar to on the fairgrounds. They did a fair food thing where there were all food booths around, just like a regular fair, but there were no rides.
One of the things that they did up in Canada was do maple syrup tastings from different farms. So like a beer tasting or a wine tasting, but have a maple syrup tasting and then have the maple syrup from the different farms there to taste. And it was astounding how different the maple syrup tasted from different regions.
That's a good idea,
Yeah.
especially now with the different kinds of maple syrup too. I know I missed the craft show, well, I guess they're coming.
Well,
Where
especially.
they set up all the different ones, you know, the barrels and some whiskeys and all that.
They have
Let
birch
me try
syrup
that,
now,
let me
too.
try that.
It's made out of white birch trees.
And think about it, maple season is typically in a shoulder, it's in a season that's not really peak for travel, right?
That's right.
It's usually toward the end of February, early March. If people aren't skiing, they're not really coming to the area, so having sort of like a Maple Fest type of thing is a fantastic idea.
And I think we have a day
They have
now
a
where
maple trail.
all these, Maple Trail, where all these different, we probably have 20 of them now. And if we could coordinate them all together at the same time, it'd be a whole county thing, yeah.
I think that's a big focus for us moving forward, is that the countywide approach and sort of going back to that co-op thing, because we do have a lot of natural assets, but we also have a lot of businesses, and it's kind of pairing them. And so just in preparing for this meeting, thinking about it, and I don't know if it's one of passing things or not during COVID, but it's just sort of that idea that we have those, like our driving routes that are like very scenic and, free and easy, but what's making people kind of stop and stay. So we do also have like those farm attractions. We have, plenty of walks and natural resources, and we found that our trails are getting used to a great extent. So then I think it's the linking them. It's linking all of the assets of the county and showing that we're better as a whole and forming those partnerships. I think that's where we'll see our greatest strength moving forward.
And
the
you got a lot
options are
of money, but
endless.
there's some that probably we don't even have on here that are there that we don't
Right.
think about at the top of our head.
And that's where the co-op marketing piece comes into play, right? Because how would we know who to include, always do we include, it's, we have such a big net that if it was appropriate and someone did want to participate in some type of advertisement that we have, that gives them the flexibility to do that in a very fair and just way.
Walk the Falls, for
Yeah.
example.
And again, we have, we live in such a great area that has so many free and open to the public trails, but I think bringing it back to sort of that connection with the community, I think is important and should be a focus of ours than sending people out into bringing them back to the community. And that's always been a success for the Saranac Sixers. Jeremy and I have been a part of that in Saranac Lake, the 6 mountains around Saranac Lake. And we noticed from the very beginning there were a lot of people that would come up, hike, sleep in their car, get back in their car and drive back to Albany. They were there just simply to hike. So it's making those connections of we have the Sixer bell in the middle of downtown. So when you're done hiking, you come back to the middle of downtown to ring the bell, and then you're more apt to maybe grab a bite to eat or shop or pass by something. But we need to be careful to link those things, not just to send people out to our natural resources and to enjoy our natural assets, but that there's that economic development component of bringing them back and making those connections.
Because in my district, I know more about it, but Sturgis Falls has a beach, they have cabins there right now, they have a campsite for campers there.
Yeah.
They have a lot of stuff there that nobody even knows about.
And they don't know the quality of the cabins they have there either.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
They just
Yeah,
don't know what a
Chad's
great
done a
place
great
it
job
was
there.
to live in that area.
Donald's from that area. Really, the first time that I saw those cabins, I was really taken aback. I was expecting, something very rustic and, smelling like a camp, but no, these were.
And here's the thing, and some of them, are newer, but that was we always skated there, winter skating
Oh,
out.
now they have an arena there.
For as long as I can remember, so.
Well, they have that ice arena there
Right,
now. And they also give free skates. You hear skates you can use while you come, which is a unique idea for the area.
And the river's beautiful there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still have the walk bridge across it.
No, the walk bridge is
Gone.
It's
That's too
they're
bad.
trying to get some funds.
They need to do that because the other side is amazing.
They do have a nice overlook now. though,
Yeah.
which is-
But there was, from down where the campers are, there was a bridge that went right across.
There's trails over
And
there.
it's blocked off now because they don't have the funding to rebuild it, and they're trying to get some grants.
Do they have a rough idea of what that would cost?
I would think Chad does, because Chad's pretty well on top of
Yeah.
everything up there.
I only mention that because maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but one of the things that we'll be exploring for the rest of the year and into next year would be that destination development marketing
That's right.
fund. And, you know, every little bit helps, and that might be something that they would be interested in.
Yeah, you should reach
So,
out.
yeah,
Because we definitely see that a lot, whether it's events or, you know, our destinations, everyone is kind of operating on a shoestring budget. And so, you know, being able to like build what we already have and kind of offset their cost, I think that's huge for us. And I think that we hear that a lot from stakeholders as well.
And I know Andrea Goff has worked a lot in the different communities on walkways and different places they can walk. And
Yeah.
it's been very helpful to some of these communities with some grant money too.
Right.
Is there concepts of sharing photos of what people are seeing and their experiences that you're considering?
I'm not sure I really understand, in our promotion stuff or in
Yeah.
what,
In your
just
promotion?
having a bank of photos?
From a standpoint of getting people who have come to share their favorite photo
Oh, yeah.
as an incentive to say, hey, I had this fun event.
Oh, that's a good
Right,
idea.
so user-generated content, yeah, is
Yeah.
like, that's where it's at right now. Just
Yeah.
everybody can be an influencer and just being able to, we don't have a system or software in place that can do that, but that would be,
Alright.
so, you know, like it would be great on the homepage of the website to have that, where, you know, it just populates with photos that people share.
An example is, there have been so many blue heron sightings recently. There are an abundance of blue herons. We saw a blue heron standing by the Riverwalk, being fed by a fisherman. The fisherman was pulling fish out, and he threw a fish to the heron, and the heron ate it. It
Well,
was
that's
like,
pretty
whoa,
cool.
that's pretty good.
that is, because they're typically very skittish.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was-
By the casino, there's a bunch of I think they're white herrings. And if you look out over where the mobile park is there, it's right full of them in there. I don't know where they come from, but.
Well, you know, it's really nice to see such a nice collaborative effort between the two of you,
Yeah.
Kelly and Phil, to create, you know, this and to highlight across the county some of our, you know, great assets. So working as a team, it's nice to see that.
Right, and that's just thoughts in a very like rough form, but
Yeah.
just to give a visual, because
Yeah.
sometimes I think I deal better with visual and seeing and holding something. But yeah, it's directions that we could go.
Yeah.
To give
There's so
yeah,
many
yeah.
possibilities. That's-
Right.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a lot of stuff and have a lot of plans for the future. So-
Any questions or ideas that you'd like to share with us that we should kind of keep our eyes open for, or?
Seems like you hit on a lot of them today.
There's a lot of work to do, but all exciting stuff for sure.
And as time goes on, I think that we'll see more and more.
Right.
More people say, how come you don't have this in the area? Well, I'll say, well, we don't know.
Right. Which is why a big part of it too, I know that I spend a lot of time just talking to stakeholders and to people and just to being in the communities and seeing who's walking the streets. Sometimes you just have to just be the boots on the ground to know what's needed, yeah.
That's
And where
why
they're
the
coming
event is
from
so
is,
great.
you know,
Yeah.
it's where they're coming from that interests me all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Why?
Yes.
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Yeah, and it's amazing to
Yeah.
hear stories or how they were connected to get here.
Yeah.
So it's good job.
And as the downtown, Saranac Lake, I know has a nice downtown, the lake has a nice downtown, and
But we're
And
working
always
through a
working on their
technical
downtown.
assistant grant with Jeremy and Phil right now, and the first set of drawings, I don't know if Jeremy's, not you, Jeremy, John, or the architect
Rick
sent you.
sent them.
Did he
Yes.
send them?
So you've seen them?
That could be a major game changer for Main Street with some of those.
The ones that he did for Giuseppe's was really fantastic. And Donna, you asked a question about there was a jewelry shop at one point
Right,
that actually did make the rendering.
wonderful.
Yes,
So As I said, it's so but there's just this little spot that needs a little something, and so I had asked them, I'm like, hey, is that on the list?
You know, I'll share it with you. I
That'd
mean,
be great.
It's the village, but I mean, we should all look at, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
and they're simple changes that we can start implementing on these buildings that could make a big change.
Yeah.
And you know what, so right now, we're looking at potentially funding the DDMF again, and these are fantastic opportunities for these businesses to say, you know, yeah, I can just afford the painting, but you know what, there's a sign on there for $5,000, we only have a couple thousand left in our budget. Here's a nice way to fill that gap and to put some of that signage or that lighting that would really change our downtown
I
dramatically.
mean, I'm hoping he starts painting this weekend, which is, you know.
I don't know what the weather is for this weekend.
When's he open?
Oh, I think it's not nice.
I think
It's
it's like
supposed to be
high
nice.
50s or something, but not raining.
Cooler but nice.
Money, he's waiting on that.
Well,
Just
good.
that pizza, the pizza.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know that we're running.
We always get excited about this topic.
Just talking to the word mask.
That too,
We look forward to the plans.
right?
Yes.
You do have a lot of work ahead of you, but we're willing to assist you guys going through this next phase that we're working on. And
Yep.
we know that you guys are dedicated, you know, we're seeing it, we're hearing it, so keep
You know, our
going.
tag committee's diverse enough, it's from all over, so it should help that way too, so.
And like I mentioned earlier, I sent you all a link to some
Yeah,
work
I've looked at
Mariel
them, yeah.
McKee has put those together. And the reason I put them out there is because here we have an opportunity with a vendor that is really affordable. I mean, I don't want to say this too publicly because I don't want him to raise his rates, but there's a wonderful opportunity there to get him to capture some nice drone footage for our hiking challenge, for the waterfalls. All that is really affordable, but I'll just leave it at that. But something to take a peek at for sure.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
How's the new cat doing?
Oh, that was not my name for the record. And I still don't. Yeah, but thanks for asking.
You're not a cat lover.
I'm not a chaos lover. And
I'm sorry, but your house is chaos.
When you have 3 kids
You have
and a
3
dog.
children.
we have 3
You
kids,
didn't
a
You
dog,
just
and
had
a
twin
cat.
boys.
We didn't need another animal.
Well, guess what? You have one.
Yeah, this is true. Thanks again.
Bye, see you later, bye Kelly.
So long
Bye,
now.
Kelly.
And
Congratulations.
thank
I
you.
love going down and buying these
So long
trees
now,
and
Russ.
biscuits.
Could I get a motion to adjourn and then we'll, motion and a second to adjourn? All in favor?
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Jeremy, nice to see you.
I will.
I saw you taking all the good notes,
I
so.
did, and I need to
And
catch
now
up.
I'd like to get a motion to, go into executive session to talk about the land claims.
Jeremy, we gotta finalize the contract. We gotta finalize the contract.
Yeah, but not now.
I did, but
We just haven't had time.
it's confusing.
Okay, Lenny made the motion, anybody second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You guys are in favor? You guys in favor of going into executive session?
So moved.